I think it's interesting that as we've listened to various speakers and panelists today, employer brand crops up time and time again. And I think one of the reasons it does is because the talent market today is changing, continuing to change, and putting more and more pressure on people involved in talent acquisition. Job seekers are becoming more sophisticated in how they go and make decisions around where they want to join. The younger generations actually have got a huge propensity to trust in brands in a way that perhaps in the past we weren't as aligned to those brands, but now they'll make a decision about whether they'll work for an organization based on whether they trust that brand or don't trust that brand. And their behaviors are quite different in terms of, they're moving on from certain digital platforms. I've got children, I call them children, 27 and 30, they're not on Facebook, they're on Insta. They actually do things differently the way we think they do, and that's just constantly impacting on the way that talent is looking for its next employer. And I think the final piece around that kind of consumer grade experience, we've all dealt with Amazon. We've all got that kind of shopping basket thing where it keeps promoting the next thing, that if you bought this, you want to buy that. And actually, they are consumers and they expect something of a similar standard when they're consuming in the world of talent and job seeking. And as you can see, the kind of roadmap of how they interact is quite complex. They'll go to all sorts of different places to find information. Whether that's social media, from Glassdoor to LinkedIn to Twitter, whatever, they're constantly consuming data and content, and they'll find whatever there is to be written about you. And I think the thing that's quite interesting around employer brand isn't do you have one? Everyone has one. Every organization that is out there trying to recruit talent has an employer brand. The question is, have you really articulated it well? And are you managing it in all these different channels in which the talent is looking for? So if they're looking in a place and there's content there that you'd rather not see, too late. They're going to form an opinion. You go back to the previous slide, they trust brands or don't trust brands. You might be just losing talent because you're not managing your brand well. And it just seems that wherever you look, the statistics will be talking about the importance of employer brand. 72% of worldwide recruiting leaders saying it has a significant impact on hiring. And 85% saying that the impact of the employer brand extends way beyond the hiring process into retention and avoiding attrition. And there are so many huge benefits to having a powerful and well-managed employer brand. And the statistics stack up that say if you're making those investments, then you will enjoy the benefits of it in terms of finding the right talent, decreasing the cost of hire, reducing turnover. So there is this kind of huge impact that you can have if you manage your brand well. And actually, when I looked at a recent survey, it was a UK-based survey in Candidate Attraction Report, 40% of those respondents cited the lack of brand awareness is a key issue in hiring the talent they want to find. So it kind of just keeps coming back. There's huge advantages, and actually, it actually overcomes some of the challenges that you find out there. And it allows you as an organization to reach deeper into the labor market to attract passive candidates. So, and the one that I think a lot of organizations quite enjoy is the premium that you don't have to pay to attract talent that wants to work for you. So if you've done great branding and you've got a really attractive proposition and people align behind the culture and the values of your organization, then to get them to accept an offer doesn't actually necessarily cost you as much as whether you're just out there cold in the market trying to bring in the next hire. And just before I get to the kind of headlines from the HRO research, I just thought it'd be useful to kind of share what is a true EVP in our world. And I think it's very important that you see it as an insight-based piece of research. So if you're going to do employer branding really well, you need to get into what is the organization. Often that will start with senior executive interviews, it will do focus groups, it will be external referencing, but you need to pull together this deep body of data that allows you to then go through these three stages on the chart. You need to create the pillars, the themes that sit behind what an organization stands for and what its values are. You then need to create a narrative that actually allows you to talk about it in a common language, both internally to your employees, externally to the talent you're trying to reach, and then kind of bring it together in a powerful strapline, something that resonates with the audience. And these three things we think come together, as I say, as a result of a well-detailed piece of research, of insight, and allows you to construct a story that everyone can start to tell the same story. So whether it's the recruiting manager, the hiring manager, someone else in the interview process, if you've got that brand really well established and really well shared amongst those people involved with talent, then the story is consistent and it starts to build. And the research from HRO Today, I think, is saying that there's a lot going on out there. Social media definitely seems to be a really powerful way in which organizations are sharing their employer brand. And it's back to that slide with all the channels that you could see earlier. I think one of the surprising things is for something that is deemed to be important both by chief execs, by talent acquisition leaders, is that actually only 28% of the organizations in the survey reported as having metrics. And I think that kind of is clearly a challenge. When you get to the business case, when you're looking for that funding for employer branding activity, then if you've not got the metrics, you possibly are going to struggle to present for further funding. And I think the other thing as well is the facing off to the internal audience, the employees, and getting them more engaged with the employer brand seems to be quite a significant value, as they're seeing, many organizations are seeing that their employees can take an active role in pushing that brand out there. You know, they're amongst their own network of previous colleagues on LinkedIn, and they're able to push that talent out. That information about brand is going out there through their existing employees into their networks, and the amplification of that is often far greater than that through corporate channels. I think that in again, the kind of candidate attraction report that I saw earlier, it talked about the power of careers websites for almost every sector and every industry being a great source of applicants. And one of the things that surprised me as I went through these research results was when you look at the headlines around where priorities are, careers websites didn't appear to be really as much of a focus as where organizations see the opportunity to share their employer brand. And one of the things that we've noticed is that video content is hugely popular. It's a really great way to tell stories, to bring to life what it's like to work in an organization. And one of the differences from a similar survey that was done not so long ago by HRO in North America is how much more popular video content is in EMEA than it is in North America. And I think that's a great way, as I say, of sharing brand. And that comes back to that kind of consumer experience and what the talent audiences are actually doing with their time. They are constantly on their phone. They're looking at video content. Why wouldn't you share your brand in the channels in which they operate? I think the other thing as well that surprised me from the research when you did the comparisons was that in EMEA, so many more organizations have a specific budget for employer branding than in North America. So again, for something that is allegedly really important, critical to reaching the right talent, not having a specific budget obviously is going to provide some significant challenges. And then again, just looking further at the differentiation that you get. So this, I think, is a fascinating slide because an employer brand is allegedly allowing you to go out to reach the talent and to differentiate yourself against your competition. And yet in North America, 87% of the organizations that took part in the research didn't feel that their employer brand truly differentiated them. When you look at the comparative data for Europe, you can see that there's a better story, but you've still got 64% of people saying that their employer brand doesn't truly differentiate them in the marketplace. Given that that is the purpose of an employer brand, you have to get behind these numbers and go, well, what is it that is not allowing an organization to truly establish themselves as different? So are they not doing that research, creating the pillars, the themes, and building that story out in a robust way? And then when candidates are out there looking at them, they're just not seeing the difference because some of those kind of tripe statements that everyone says are all there, and there's nothing really personable. The content isn't real and robust and meaningful. And then just finally, coming back to the point earlier, which was only 28% of organizations are measuring their success. Surprising and relatively low in my view. But when you do look at what those organizations are measuring, they seem to be the right things. So you've got quality of applicant, you've got social engagement, you've actually got careers site traffic, albeit that they don't quote careers site as a key means with which to build their brand, and inbound referrals, which again comes back to that point earlier around the strength of employee engagement and how employees telling stories amongst their networks is a really important thing. And then just finally, getting to just the wider set of metrics. So I felt that given that only 28% of organizations were looking for them, where might you actually go and do better measurement? And these were just some of the things that in the research came to life. And I think that the business case to improve the funding of employer branding is really important. At the end of the day, branding is marketing. And we all know what sort of budgets the consumer marketing teams have in many large organizations. And I'm not sure recruitment marketing will ever get quite that funding. But if you really want to go out there and demonstrate that you are an employer that's different with great qualities and the reason why great talent should come and join you, then you really do need to have a better business case as to why you fund improved employer branding. So a quick canter through 10 minutes and in time for the coffee break. So thank you very much for your time.